Welcome to Health Monk Aligned Podcast. I'm Don Waterson and this is episode 4. Today I will be talking to Tobias Segal from Promolife in the US. Promolife sell home health equipment and ship directly to the UK. I've been buying ozone equipment from Promolife since 2009 and I can really vouch for the quality of their products. And we will be discussing today everything ozone, infrared saunas and much more. So thanks for listening and I hope you enjoy. We've got Tobias Segal from Promolife in America. We've just been having a off-air chat, I suppose, about other things which we won't go into on this podcast. But really, I've got him here today to tell us the story of how Promolife came about. So we might as well kick that part off now, Tobias.
Yeah. So we got started back in 2001, and we really had to focus more on like natural health products because we saw essentially a need, especially with the internet just coming about. So we got started, and really what it allowed us to do is just find out like what we really truly believed in and what we were good at. And so, we ended up gravitating more toward ozone related products because we saw such a huge success rate with it. And especially the original founder had some health issues, and ozone was one of the few things that actually really helped him out a lot. And so, anytime, we can be a believer in a product, we can provide the best service and the best customer experience. I mean, here's the thing. I believe in it, and I can take my knowledge and transfer it to just about anybody and help them as much as possible. It's not necessarily about, selling them and, getting them to like buy as much stuff as possible. I mean, I guess that's part of business, but if we can take a product and actually help a person with it, to me, that's such a better experience.
Yeah, I mean, the ozone sort of sells itself once you've used it. I mean, a lot of people are a little put off by what they can read on the internet about ozone, but once people have tried it, one of the nurses before Christmas had just a 2-pass, a blood transfusion, if you like. She's got thyroid problems, and for a week, she didn't need her thyroid drugs.
Wow.
For a whole week. That turned her mind massively. And she just had another one yesterday, and we'll see if the same sort of result comes about. But sorry, I interrupted.
Oh no, that's awesome. I mean, I hear a lot of stories where it just gives people more energy. They feel better. Like I was talking to a lady this past weekend, and she's a stage 4 cancer survivor. So you would consider her the highest possible risk of getting COVID. But and she's been traveling all over the country, and she's been fine because you know what she does once every other week. She does a vitamin C IV and an ozone IV, and she has literally not had any sicknesses all the entire year. So, I mean, that's amazing.
I know what it's done for me and my wife. I bought my first ozone sauna from you guys way back in 2009 when I didn't have a clue what to do with it when it arrived. I hadn't a clue. And but the benefits the sauna gave me then spurred me on to do other things like insufflations. And having Lyme disease, me and my wife, I don't know where we'd have been without vitamin C and ozone. They're the two things that really have changed, and diet, but the two outside things that have changed our life, really. How many people work in the business now then, Tobias?
We have about 17 employees right now. So, we do a lot of our own like in-house light manufacturing, which allows us to really focus on quality control. And so we get a lot of assembled products or raw products in, and we basically design them in a way where we can really tailor it to the customer. So as of right now, we're at about 17, which is a pretty awesome number from the original time we started. So, we like it small. I think small is honestly, it's more fun. We can, adapt faster, honestly, and it's less chaotic. So I feel like that's a good number for right now. But, if we keep growing, we'll obviously have to add more people. So we'll see how it goes.
I think less is more sometimes. And also modern businesses now don't need a massive staff volume, do you? You can do things offline and what have you. And so I don't think the modern way of running business is having loads of staff there.
I agree. It's really about like efficiency, like it's so much about content nowadays and developing that strategic content that customers can relate to. And it really, with technology, we have the ability to create really cool things. And I mean, it's so much fun, and we can get information to the customer, and they can be educated. So it's great.
So it's a family business, isn't it, Promolife? If
that is correct.
I remember rightly. Were you always destined then to work within the company?
I don't know, because when I graduated college, it was back in 2008, and that's right when the Great Recession hit, I guess. And so I had a few other options, but it was just like, okay, work for somebody else or have the ability to basically do whatever I want and try to be as creative as possible. And, especially with the Great Recession, it was such an iffy time as far as even keeping a job or, whatever. And so, I feel like I did make the right decision, with working with them. And we were able to, we kind of reconfigured the whole business model to be more, like we have a lot of our own products now. We have people who buy directly from us that resell stuff. So, we kind of differentiated enough that I think really helped us out through that difficult time for a lot of businesses.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to specifically talk about ozone today, but you guys supply hundreds probably of different products, don't you? Literally. How many products do you actually have online at the moment?
I think it's around like 300 or 400, but most of those are ozone related products. So, we're talking about like, connectors, tubing. I mean, there's a lot that can go into ozone that people might need. So most of it is going to be ozone related. We have a few other things that we've been adding as well.
Which is your best selling? I get asked this a lot. Which ozone generator should I buy, Dom? And I always say, just contact Tobias over at Promolife because he'll just give you a lot of good information. I can tell them what I've got and how we use ours. But obviously some people's financial restraints and what have you, so they want a cheaper model. So, yeah. So which is the sort of best seller you've got?
Well, it's a tough one because it really depends on what you need it for. I would say our most popular one is called our O3Elite Single because it's such a versatile unit. It has great concentration ranges. It's super easy to use and it's super dependable. But we have multiple models based upon different situations. Whether it's for at-home use. We do a lot of dental ozone generators as well, which is one of my favorite topics of ozone right now. So we try to essentially provide like a unit for just about every situation. We're constantly adding more features, but overall, I would say our O3 Elite Single is by far our most popular. So.
Yeah, people over here are quite shocked when I tell them you can buy ozone equipment for your home. They think you've got to go to a clinic to do. I mean, there are certain things that you've got to do in a clinic, like IVs and things like that. There's no doubt about that. But there are other stuff you can do on a daily basis. I think giving people that control, like the lady you were talking about, who was seriously ill, if she's got that level of control at home where she can do insufflations, make ozonated water, it does give you that positivity as well, doesn't it? So I suppose, you have home packages? Do you have a biggest selling home package? Is there a sort of standard? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of our, we try to focus on like the most common things that you can do at home and package those together in an easy format to use. So what most people want to do is they want to make ozonated water to drink. They want to be able to do a rectal insufflation. They want to be able to do ear insufflations. And then also for women, they want to do vaginal insufflations. So we have about, 4 things that we can hit. And one other thing I forgot to mention was another nice thing you can do that's really easy is called nasal insufflation. So you have about 4 or 5 different things you can do at home. And we try to package them all in one. We call it our basic insufflation package. And it's all set up with, all the pieces that you need to do it, the tubing, it comes with a great instructional booklet that goes over settings, goes over how to hook everything up. And honestly, I mean, if you're wanting to do ozone at home, I mean, it's simple. It might, some people think of it as, a little intimidating at first, but once you kind of decide to actually do it, you're like, wow, that was a lot easier than I expected it to be. So
yeah, it's oxygen in, ozone out. And the ozone goes to a bag, a glass or something. And it's quite simple. The problem is for people with Lyme disease, when they've got this Lyme brain fog, it's a bit difficult to concentrate and they actually think that you've got to do it in a clinical setting and things like that. So that's one of the downsides for people.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, I would say the only difficult area for most people would be One thing that is required when you do ozone at home is a pure oxygen source. And so that is a requirement. There's different avenues to go to get a pure oxygen source. So that's the one issue. That's the one thing we run into. I wouldn't call it an issue, but we have a lot of different options for people to help them out with that. So
yeah, I suppose there's a company in the UK called BOC, and they supply oxygen. And you can't get, obviously, medical grade if you're just Joe Blogs in the street, but you can get industrial grade, which is good enough for water, insufflations, and all the other stuff. You won't want to use it for IVs, probably, but it's good enough for that. And then they've got, obviously, the concentrators, which you guys sell. Is there a difference? Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, ironically, I've looked at BOC and their percentage is 99.5%. So if you want to compare that to actual medical gas, there's really no difference in quality, though there is one slight difference that people do need to be aware of. So medical tanks have chain of custody. Industrial tanks do not have chain of custody. So basically meaning if there was supposedly ever an issue, you could find that medical tank and say, okay, here's the problem tank. You can't quite do that with an industrial tank. But the one thing that people need to also realize with oxygen and gases, so on oxygen tanks, they put oxygen valves on the tank. And that means that you can only fit an oxygen adapter up to that tank. So the chances of mixing gases is impossible. So like a nitrogen tank has a nitrogen valve, a CO2 tank has a CO2 valve. A acetylene tank has a acetylene valve. All these tanks have different valves, so you cannot mix or screw it up. So the chances of something happening is virtually impossible.
Yeah, contamination is virtually zero, isn't it?
Yes.
I would say. But I mean, in the clinic, we always use medical grade just because it's in the clinic. Yeah. At home, you can see over my shoulder there, I've got an oxygen tank, and I've also got a concentrator down here just as a backup, just in case we run out. And we find that very useful. Would you say the interest in ozone, especially with what's going on at the moment, has increased?
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's think about it. I mean, and I want to point out a really cool fact as far as why it has increased. So, ozone is technically classified as a sterilizer. But the cool thing with ozone is our body handles it incredibly well, and it's honestly good for us. So there's a huge difference with ozone versus other things such as chlorine. Okay, I just want to reference chlorine as an example. Ozone kills bacteria and viruses 3,500 times faster than chlorine. So when it comes in contact with these bacteria, 3,500 times faster. I mean, that just says so much, in my opinion, as far as why it's so effective. So when it comes in contact with viruses and bacteria, why would you not want to use ozone? It's the best thing out there for everything.
Because it's too efficient, probably.
It is. You can't beat it.
No, and I mean, also it dissolves heavy metals and destroys parasites. I mean, we've done parasite cleansers and seen these things coming out of us. And these are all due to ozone treatments, different ozone treatments as well.
Well, and one thing I want to note with ozone, which is why it works so well with the human body, is we have antioxidant coatings on our cells that protects us from the oxidation effects of ozone. So as long as we're within that limit that we obviously put these ozone generators at. But the thing with viruses and bacteria, they do not have that protection that our cells do. So literally, as soon as that ozone hits that virus and bacteria, it either deactivates or destroys. So it's safe for humans, not safe for pathogens.
Yeah, well, it's always good news, especially for people, what's going on at the current time and the fear that's going around with that. I mean, ozone treatments and Lyme disease, I mean, we obviously, I can shout from the rooftops about not just me and my wife, but the people we've seen and the difference it's made to their lives. Are you seeing an uptake because of the rise of Lyme disease in the US? Do you get a lot of contact from Lyme patients?
We do.
What I'm trying to say.
We absolutely do. And I think honestly, the big issue with Lyme disease, it's a lot more widespread than people think it is. I think honestly, most people have that bacteria in their system. Once you have it in your system, it is a spirochete. I think realistically, most healthy people tend to fend off that bacteria, before it can cause an issue. But I think if we did some tests on individuals, we'd probably find that most people have it. And really what it boils down to is keeping our immune system in check so these pathogens don't overtake and get in deeper to our joints and cells and cause issues. So that's a whole nother reason to do ozone. You probably have it, so let's protect our bodies so we don't act, so it doesn't become an issue.
I get asked which is the best ozone generator or ozone manufacturer, and it's a difficult one to answer because I can only say what I've used. I would never say someone's good or bad because I've never used theirs. I've only used Promolife, Longevity, and the one we've got in the clinic, the Herman Medazone, which does something slightly different to what your equipment does. And what makes yours different to others? I suppose that's the best question because it produces cold ozone, I suppose. Have I got that right? Yeah,
it does. So that's a really solid question to ask. And there's a couple of ways to, provide the best information for that. So really what you have to look at is, what's the lifespan of the generator? Do they have a good warranty? If they have a good warranty, typically it means it's a high quality generator. We offer a lifetime warranty on a lot of our stuff. We back it. We also want to see a calibration option with ozone generators because at some point the output might slightly change. And so we want to know, can we send it back into the company to get it calibrated to make sure it's still producing the accurate amount that we want it to produce? That's another thing we offer. In addition, we want to have the support and the service behind the product. So I see a lot of companies out there, they'll just start selling ozone generators. They might be a decent unit, but at some point, you're going to need help using it, need a servicing plan with it. And if that's not attached to your package or to your generator, then you're basically just throwing money down the drain. And, this is a piece of equipment that, is going to last you a long time if you go through the proper channels and do the right thing. So ultimately, when it comes to like who's the best at manufacturing stuff, it really boils down to who has the best warranty, who offers the service plan, and who can provide the best customer support, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the insides of without trying to get too technical, and I'm not technical by a long shot, but you use ceramics, am I right there?
We do. And
some people use glass.
There's a difference. I mean, one of the reasons why I like ceramic over glass is it cools 30 times faster than glass. And so the big issue with ozone is heat. So even though we have cold ozone production cells, there's a small amount of heat that's generated. And so if we can dissipate that heat so much faster, we're going to get a much more stable ozone concentration. The other interesting thing with ceramic is if you look at it on the hardness scale, it's actually harder than quartz glass. It's just below diamonds in the hardness factor. The other cool thing with ceramic is it has much better dielectric properties or electrical conductivity. Or it's a better insulator. So it just has a lot better features when in use with ozone. And, we have the question people want to know, is it as pure as glass? That's a valid question. It absolutely is. We've tested it and we've proven that it is. And so from a standpoint of a great ozone generator, pure source, you can't beat it. Glass is good too, but the only downside of glass, in my opinion, is just doesn't cool fast enough.
Yeah. We'll get in. I want to talk about water actually, because you guys have some good water cleansing. And my family and friends they listen to me going on about what's in the water and things like that. And I do videos about it and they must get bored out of their minds listening to me. But, the consequences of these contaminants, from a extended life point of view, and there's no doubt, in my opinion, that these things are there and they make you ill. But they just do. Can you enlighten people as to what is actually put in the water and why we need to take it out?
Yeah, and I find this so funny right now. I mean, it's not funny, but it's so bizarre. Okay, I think bizarre is a better word. So, we put chlorine in water, and the other strange thing that we put in water nowadays is fluoride. Okay, I always like to think about it like this. Like, can you imagine if we just started putting fluoride in the water right now? People would be up in arms. They'd be like, what are you trying to medicate me for? I mean, if we look at, how fluoride interacts with our body, it is so incredibly, it's like the most toxic chemical on the planet. And we're putting it in our water, but they say it hardens our teeth. Okay, maybe, but why would we drink it? We're not even putting it on our teeth. And so it's such a misnomer as far as how it's being labeled. And there's other studies out there that say that it's actually calcium fluoride that is what's beneficial to your teeth, but what they put in the water is sodium fluoride. And so, and they've actually proven, like at some, like I think it's like anywhere between 2 and 4 parts per million of fluoride in the water actually causes brittle bone disease and thyroid issues and a multiple other diseases. And right now, I think it's supposed to be between zero point 0.7 ppm and 1.2 ppm. So we're just under that toxic threshold. But what if it's not being mixed properly down the pipes, or some people are getting more? I mean, honestly, yeah. It blows my mind that we do this. I mean, I can't believe it. So,
well, I mean, fluoride. I mean, it's a waste product from the aluminium industry, isn't it? So, I mean, that itself, it's madness. You couldn't make this thing up. And then chlorine, it's not really chlorine anymore. They mix chlorine and ammonia together, call it chloramine.
Chloramine.
I mean,
that's right.
So you've got 2 toxic substances now instead of the one. It's absolutely mental. And then also you've got what leaches into the water supply as well. Hormones and things like that.
Pharmaceutical drugs, all that stuff.
Yeah, and pesticides and anyway. Which filter product would you advise to start with? I tell people which one I like the whole house stuff, but which sort of filter would you say?
Well, a lot of people really want to remove fluoride from the water, and the difference with fluoride versus like chlorine and chloramines is the chlorine and the chloramines are a little bit easier to remove than fluoride. Fluoride's a dissolved solid, and so you can't just filter it out of the water. It just doesn't work like that. So you actually have to draw it out of the water, almost like a magnet. And so we use a type of filter called bone char. It's derived from cow bones, and the way it works is it's super high in calcium. And so as that fluoride water passes through the filter that's high in calcium, the calcium almost acts as a magnet and draws the fluoride out and attaches itself to it. So that's essentially how we get fluoride out of the water. We also use these other filters called chloramine filters, KDF filters, which are great for removing heavy metals. Carbon block filters get rid of the chlorine. So really the main filters are a bone char filter, a KDF filter, and a carbon block or chloramine filter for removing all this junk from your water. But one thing I do want to note really fast is, like the aluminum industry, they basically had an issue with what do we do with this waste disposal? We don't want to, like, we got to get rid of it. So of course, these crazy corporations figure out a way to make money from their waste. And so they're like, well, let's just tell people it's good for them so people will buy it and we can put it in their water rather than having to pay all this money to properly dispose of it. I mean, it's just like, it's almost like, is this a joke? But it's not.
Well, it's that toxic is fluoride that they can't bury it, they can't drop it in the sea, but yet we can drink it.
Yeah.
It's in toothpaste, it's in so many teeth products, mouthwashes and things like that as well.
And that's another scary point that people don't realize. Like, they put it in our water, they put it in our toothpaste, they put it in our mouthwash. Well, guess what? All of the foods that we eat are processed with fluoridated water. So the amount of fluoride we're probably intaking right now is way too high. It's way above a safety level. And if we could just think about that logically and clean up our water, I think it would probably have a lot of health benefits for people. But at the same time, is that good for the mainstream medicine? Because I'm pretty sure they want to have sick people around. So
no sick people, no big pharma.
I know, that's right.
Side effects equals profit.
That's the unfortunate thing about a lot of these big companies nowadays.
How much ozonated water? I get asked this quite a bit as well. Should you drink? I know I went through a period where I was drinking it every day, and it can dry your throat out a little bit if you're drinking a lot of it.
It can.
Anyway.
I would say probably, if I'm going to do it, I do anywhere from like 12 to 16 ounces a day. Do it on an empty stomach. You don't have to necessarily do it every day. I mean, you can do it more on a maintenance level, every other day. I have people who do it every day and they do great with it. And it's some of those things where they just feel so much better. But ultimately, you have to just listen to yourself. How do you feel? What can your body tolerate? Because just like anything else that we take, everybody's a little bit different as far as how they react to it. So listen to yourself.
I think people try and crank the strength. Everyone's on about, the strength of things. Does this kill viruses quickly? Just calm down a bit. calm down. Just do it slowly.
Well,
Do it slowly.
seriously, and it doesn't even really need to be that strong because they've shown at a half of part per million of ozone in water, which is pretty easy to achieve really quickly. I mean, it's going to kill most of the bacteria and, on surfaces, and especially when you drink it, like, we can get it up to levels of like 5, 6, 7 parts per million. And man, you can sure taste the difference in the water. Like that's probably what honestly would, dry your throat out a little bit, but you don't really need it that strong. Like, tell yourself, okay, is this causing some irritation? Well, maybe it's a little too strong, so let me tone it down. Oh, that's perfect. And I'm feeling great. So let's focus on that. So that's all you have to do.
The less is more theory. That's what I like to use. The consistency is better than destroying yourself in one go. Saunas. Now, you can see over my shoulder there, I've got a far infrared sauna.
Oh yeah.
And I've got an ozone sauna, and as I mentioned before, and I use the far infrared a lot more, to be quite honest with you, because I find that just so easy to use and the benefits. And I've got pictures of sitting on white towels, and it looks like somebody's just spilt coal tar outside of me when the sweat comes out. You like sauna, and do you use an infrared sauna personally?
I do. Honestly, I like infrared saunas a little bit better than steam. And I think it really boils down to the preference of the individual, like what type of heat they prefer. But for me, infrared saunas, it's a deeper penetrating heat. I like to gauge the fact that it tells me how much I'm sweating, so I can see how wet I'm getting. With a steam sauna, you can't typically see that because the steam is creating moisture as well. So, infrared saunas, in my opinion, are I love them. And one of the misnomers with ozone, adding it to a sauna with an infrared, is everybody says you got to have moisture to generate those peroxides in the water or in the steam. It mixes better and it absorbs better. But they do have a point. But at the same time, when we start looking at infrared saunas, we're sweating. We have this moisture layer on our skin. The ozone's able to react with that moisture level. So in my opinion, you can get very similar benefits with an infrared sauna versus a steam sauna. So.
Right, so I've never used an ozone infrared sauna. That sauna behind me is just an infrared sauna. So I mean, I get a load of benefit from that. So it'd be interesting, and you've set me off on one now. I need to try one of those.
They're not bad. I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah. What are the benefits of a far infrared sauna?
Well, you sweat a lot more. It's a deeper penetrating heat. So the cool thing is, you don't have to necessarily. You can stay in the sauna a lot longer, and the temperature doesn't have to get as hot. Like a traditional dry heat sauna, you're talking about temperatures upwards to like 180 to 190 degrees Fahrenheit. With a infrared sauna, you're talking about 130 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Sorry, I don't have my conversions right for centigrade, but so the advantage is with a lower temperature, we can tolerate it for a lot longer and sweat a lot more. The whole concept is let's sweat everything out. And so if we're able to sweat, we're essentially moving our circulatory system, getting it going, getting out the toxins, and ultimately, you feel just so much better afterwards. You feel like you've been like cleaned out.
I mean, I find now every 2 days I need to go in because I can feel the toxins coming to the surface, if you like.
Yeah.
So maybe because of whatever it is with Lyme disease and toxins, maybe that's part of that process. But it's like I've triggered something now, and it's like a conveyor belt that every 2 or 3 days I need to get in. And
hey, I agree.
So you sell EDTA chelation. Is that which is the pronunciation?
Chelation. So it's called. Chelation. Yeah, you got it correct. So
right, okay. Would you say you need to take one of those before you get in a sauna? And can you explain what they actually do?
Well, chelation, that's not a bad idea, but chelation therapy with EDTA is designed to essentially attach itself to heavy metals and pull the heavy metals out of your body for detoxification. So it really depends on the individual if you're heavy metal toxic. So it may not be a bad idea, honestly. I think it's something that can, really benefit people, especially if you have heavy metal toxicity in your body. Absolutely.
Obviously, it's important to get rid of heavy metals, and we've just been talking about water, and them contaminants gather in your cells, I suppose, don't they? And that's the idea of the sweating process, isn't it?
That's 100% correct. Now, there's other ways to do it as well. I've heard a lot of people use it's called cilantro, and they use like a binding agent such as like crushed wall chlorella. Cilantro has the ability to pull out heavy metals as well. I think chelation's great. So there's a lot of cool ways that you can detox your body from heavy metals, but ultimately you do have to sweat because you got to get it out somehow.
So what's the newest product then they've got at Promolife that isn't ozone?
One thing that we're getting into that I find really fascinating is molecular hydrogen. So the reason why we got into it was because I do feel that it complements ozone pretty nicely. Because one of the downsides with ozone is, it is an oxidant. So some people, even though we have that antioxidant coating on our cells, some people, if that antioxidant coating isn't enough, it could cause some oxidative stress with individuals. And so what we're seeing with hydrogen is with molecular hydrogen, we can almost prime our cells for optimal efficiency when going with ozone therapy. So we're doing a lot more research on it. We're starting to look into doing hydrogen before, like especially intravenous ozone therapy, to see how people do with it, see if they have better results. But overall, molecular hydrogen is an incredibly powerful antioxidant, and the molecule is H2. It is literally the smallest molecule, so it can penetrate so deep into our cells. And so you have the super powerful antioxidant that can penetrate, that can help prime our body for ozone therapy. So we're looking at it as a great adjunct to ozone therapy.
So how would you take that? Would that be via water again?
You can drink hydrogen water. So we have these, hydrogen water systems that you generate hydrogen water and you drink the water. So that's a really fast way to do it. Or we have these machines that actually produce 99.999% pure hydrogen gas. And what's crazy is hydrogen gas, I guess you could say it's technically flammable, but you can actually breathe it and it feels great. It's completely 100% safe. There's no issues. They're using it in medicine. And when you breathe it, I think what it really is doing is it's helping reduce inflammation more than anything. And you can almost feel like your body just essentially works more efficiently when you do it. You recover faster from exercising. A lot of athletes are using hydrogen. So I think we're still super new in it. We're learning a lot about it, but it's got a lot of potentials when I look at it in regards to like oxidative stress.
What's the sort of treatment time, would you say, if you're breathing it?
30 minutes. That's all you got to do. So, and the thing is, you can't overdo it. So let's just say if you fell asleep and were on it for like 3 hours, it's not going to hurt. So once your body hits that saturation point, it doesn't intake anymore. And so it's just essentially goes in and out. So, it's literally impossible to screw up. If you're on it for 30 minutes versus 3 hours, you're not going to hurt yourself. So
there's no overdose problems or anything like that?
Nope. Can't overdose yourself at all.
And are you selling those machines now?
We are. We're getting into it. We're selling them. It's really a fascinating new area. I mean, and like I keep saying, I think it works really well for like oxidative stress. And one thing that people don't realize in regards to like oxidative stress is when we exercise, let's just say if we're like this weekend warrior and we go play a pickup basketball game like all weekend, the amount of oxidative stress that we're putting on our body is incredible to how, it's astronomical how much oxidative stress we're getting. And so, we have to understand like these exercises where we're doing long-term exercises, it is just literally just weakening our body. And, it's not necessarily that great for us. And so hydrogen can come in and help repair, reduce that oxidative stress load and overall help us recover so much faster.
I think this podcast might have just cost me a new bit of machinery, but anyway. One of the new things I've been doing is ozone injections. Have you ever experienced those? The nurse has just learned, well, he's not learned, but he got shown how to do prolozone injections. And I've had about 10 sessions off him now. And
I've personally not done a prolozone, but my wife has. So we do prolozone on her quite a bit for a back issue that she had. And I mean, I am just like blown away as far as how well it worked for her. She had she got diagnosed with an 8 mil herniated disc in her L4 and could literally barely walk. Okay. She was on the couch for like a month. and just like they prescribed her opioids. They were recommending for her to get surgery. And I was like, hey, let's do the prolozone. And so we go to our doctor, we submit the MRI report, and we get, I think it was like 4 shots in the back. And within 3 days, she's back to work on her feet, virtually pain-free. And she said, I'm at about 80% versus what I was previously at like 10%. Yeah. And we did a second round 2 or 3 weeks later, and she's been 100% ever since. So, I mean, I am just like, why not?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, do you think you'd be able to the same process with hydrogen?
You can. So, like, I think people are looking into it. So, I've actually been speaking with certain people about doing intravenous hydrogen. It is a thing. It is doable. You can. I think breathing it's pretty easy as well. Yeah. But we're getting there. I am in talks with individuals about actually, adding hydrogen gas intravenously. It's very safe. It absorbs incredibly well. We're looking into it, and I think it's a very viable option. So it's really cool.
Yeah, from an injection point of view, it might be interesting from a specific area as well. Before ozone injections, that might be.
Absolutely, and I think that's the idea out there. And one interesting note on hydrogen versus with ozone is they actually don't react with each other. So there's not a chemical reaction that takes place with H2 and O3. So they pair very well together, which is great.
Yeah, even better.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that's new with your ozone equipment? What are you planning on doing? Like the IV equipment. You talk about IVs, but are you planning on making any equipment that does like the Medizone type equipment?
We're thinking about it. We do have a system that has like a auto syringe filling system where people can fill syringes. It's more of our dental model because we do a lot with dentistry. And that's one of the areas that we're focusing on. A lot of those, like the Herman machines, those are pretty sophisticated pieces of equipment. There's a lot that goes into them. I mean, I would love to someday, be producing those as well, especially if it gets more popular in the United States, which I think it is. The one advantage in Europe with the Herman and the Zotzman 10-pass machines is they actually have those medically CE approved, which we don't have that option here in the United States to even do that because ozone's not recognized by our FDA like that. So they have a great advantage when it comes to producing this equipment to get it medically CE approved. So I mean, I think that Europe has so many better things that they're doing with medicine than the United States. The United States is just so dead set on profit. It's sickening, and it's killing people, and it's hurting our medical system. But
what, Obamacare ain't working?
Yeah, I think we just have such everybody's you have our two-party system in our United States, and each side is trying to sabotage the other side consistently, and it's sad. I mean, at some point, I wish they could work together and find solutions. But I think as soon as we just really have to get, profit with medicine does have its advantages when it comes to finding new treatment therapies and options, but it also can have a lot of negative effects as well. So we have to find a way to balance that, in my opinion.
Well, the negative effect is that they're not looking at things like hydrogen, ozone, vitamin C, and other things that obviously do work. I mean, we know the work because we've tried them on ourselves. So it's not we're not coming up with some witchcraft.
Well, think about it. You can make ozone out of thin air. You can make hydrogen out of water. So where's the money?
It doesn't exist. You can't patent it, can you?
I was like, well, shoot, if we can make this out of thin air, then we can't make any money. So, and that's the problem with the United States. Anytime we do a study, anytime somebody wants to do a medical study, it literally costs hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's just ridiculous. We have to find a better way to either fund these researches or find a cheaper method for other companies to do it who want to start exploring this new stuff. But they've set it up so it's so expensive that it's cost prohibitive for so many people. And I think that's one of the biggest downsides to our medical system.
Yeah, but from an ozone perspective, the amount of people with different illnesses that contact us, that come into the clinic and it helps, is amazing. From even herpes type illnesses or things like that. People, even the nurses are amazed. that's what's good to see on their faces, because they're coming from a traditional clinical background, and then they're working with alternative therapies like ozone, and they're seeing it works, whereas when they're in the clinical world, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's amazing what we're seeing with individuals, and that's the thing. People are, they're looking for an alternative option, because a lot of the current medical options is like that cut and slice, put that together model. And if we can find a much more healthier way to, and a non-invasive way to treat people, absolutely they're going to want to go that method, because their recovery time is so much faster. So, yeah.
Well, I think we've covered most of the things there. We're coming up to 40 minutes. And have you got anything else you want to add?
I just want to say, I do want to be grateful that, we're doing good, we're doing okay during this difficult time. We're working really hard to get the best products out for everybody, and, and keeping them at an affordable price for everybody as well. That's one of our main goals this year. Overall, we want to, provide as much assistance to anybody if they need it. We're super easy to get a hold of and ask questions. We're constantly trying to come out with more content to make things more helpful for people. But overall, we can't do this without you guys. And, we just want to be as grateful to everybody out there helping promote ozone and, being that voice. So we appreciate everybody out there.
Yeah, well, the one thing I say to people is that, as well as coming to the clinic, you need your home equipment, because you don't have to have a home clinic with thousands of different pieces of equipment, but you need to have ozone. You need to have that level of control that you can do your own treatments every day. And what I will say is, without companies like yourself and other people as well, we wouldn't. I dread to think where me and my wife would have been right now, because we were doing insufflations before we did the IVs, and they really kept us alive, I suppose, or going.
Well, I agree. I mean, and that's the thing with like especially in the United States, we have to travel so much farther. So like if somebody has to travel 4 or 5 hours to see an ozone doctor to get an IV, that's like a whole day out. That's like a whole day where they can't go to work, it's stressful for travel, it's expensive. And so having the option to do these things at home, it can really alleviate a lot of the pressure, the cost, and, it can provide so much benefit. And the cool thing that we're seeing is a lot of these ozone doctors who are doing the IVs, they are absolutely promoting home ozone use, because they know that their patients, need to do this on a daily basis to feel better. And, and I really commend a lot of the ozone doctors for doing that, because, it's something where they don't have to do that, but they're looking out for the best interest of their patients. And
it's about promoting something that works. And people say to me, what do you get out of this telling us about? I said, I don't get anything apart from peace of mind.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, and that's the thing. What I like about my job is if I can actually help somebody out and give them something that can hopefully benefit them, that makes me feel good. So
cool. Can you just leave your contact details, your website, etc.?
Absolutely. Our website is promolife.com, which is spelled promolife.com. We are in the United States. Our toll-free number, if you're in the United States, is 888-742-3404. If you're out of the United States, you can reach us at 1-479-442-3404.
Thank you very much. And that's Tobias Segal from Promolife.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Health Punk Aligned Podcast. I'm your host, Don Watson. See you next time. Cheers.